All right, it looks like everyone's trickling in here. So yeah, welcome everyone. Really looking forward to the session today. Energy Now has been a great media partner of VEERUM's, and we're really looking forward to showing off kind of the new visual way of doing work for operations and maintenance, using the VEERUM platform integrated with some of the existing digital investments you've already made. My name is Jordan Matheson. I'll be moderating the webinar today, but beside me here, you'll see Trevor MacMaster, our Chief Client Officer, and Rob Southon, VEERUM's Chief Technology Officer. And they'll be walking us through some digital trends, some new ideas on how to enrich your existing operations and maintenance practices, and then go through a live demo and show you how it actually works and how simple it is to really get started. So with that being said, we'll go through the quick agenda here. So a quick 30-minute presentation today. We'll go through the introduction to working visually, how VEERUM kind of helps you with that new visual process. Rob will go through a quick live demo, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So you'll see at the bottom right of your screen, there's a tab for Q&A. Throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask any questions in that chat bot there. And at the end, we have about 15 minutes to go through all of your questions. So really looking forward to this. Trevor, over to yourself.
I appreciate that, Jordan. Also appreciate the opportunity to co-host this with Rob here today. I'll ask Rob to introduce himself as he starts his slide presentation, but a little fine print and a disclaimer for myself. So Trevor MacMaster, Chief Client Officer. And at the end of the day, I get to support our client success and implementation teams on a daily basis. But a little bit of a confession, I am not a polished presenter. I am more comfortable in coveralls than I am in this sport jacket. So at the end of the day, the best job I've ever had is a maintenance planner. And that's the reason I joined this company. VEERUM, we're going to celebrate our 10th year anniversary next year. So await those invitations to that party. But basically, VEERUM is a visual data-centric digital twin. And our claim to fame, Jordan alluded to it there, is ease of use and simplicity. We are able to take any of your project or asset information that you have, whether it be design, CADs, whether it be 2D, 3D, reality capture, photogrammetry. Hell, if your kids drew a picture of your asset, we can bring all of that together in a very rich geo-referenced digital twin for you visually, and we can connect it to any of your business systems so that you're able to make decisions quicker with more confidence. The cool thing is it's a SaaS model, so no special hardware, no special software. It's hosted by AWS, and it's available to you anywhere in the world as long as you have access to a web browser. At the end of the day, we're trusted by some of the coolest top tier asset owners out there to deliver our application and our solution. At the end of the day, as you're going to see during this presentation, we enable your teams to work remotely and, just as importantly, to work visually. And that's what we're going to show you here today. And Jordan, if you go to the next one. On the quantitative return on investment side, a visual data-centric visual twin has proven to give a huge return on investment. They're listed here in front of you. I'm just going to go over a couple of them here. So once you aggregate all your data into a visual digital twin, you instantly get a improvement in productivity and efficiency. People are going into one platform to access multiple business systems. And then the other thing is, if you're able to confirm your asset or project existing conditions remotely, that means you have less people that are, behind the fence at the plant gate. And that's the most dangerous place to be, is in front of that rotating equipment and our plant and our processes. So a big win there for us on the field exposure, which also improves our safety performance. And then the other thing is, with the advent of technology that Rob is going to talk about on the data capture side, that safety exposure we have to field inspections and the cost of field inspections is greatly reduced. So think of you have to inspect a vessel out there. So instead of putting scaffolding up or working at heights, you send an autonomous drone up there to capture some really cool reality scans of it, and you can view it and inspect it remotely from an office or a safe location. So a lot of quantitative returns on investments to a digital twin. But Jordan, if we go to the next one, qualitatively, what it really enables you to do is to have that business continuity. So think about some of the areas that we work in with regards to weather. You might not be able to make that trip to site due to plane delays or due to snowstorms or due to pandemics type of things. The access to the sites might be restricted. And again, that allows you to work remotely. I am a maintenance planner by heart, and I spent probably 60% of my time traveling to site to verify existing conditions prior to doing maintenance work, shutdowns, turnarounds, or as a premise for design for greenfield or brownfield projects. A digital twin gives you that option of going to site, and thus increases your productivity and improves safety. And then the other thing about our digital twin is, again, that simplicity, that ease of use type of thing, and it allows your workforce that is changing now to consume their asset or project data the way they want to. So whether it's on their mobile phone or an iPad or a laptop, or back at the office or at the home office, or through VR, through AR, it allows you to consume it the way that your workforce wants to do it. And the ever-changing workforce out there is looking for these digital tools. That's what they're used to doing. If any of you guys have teenagers out there with, TikTok and all those types of things out there. Go ahead, Jordan. And the cool thing here is these digital twins, because of the trends and the technology Rob is going to talk about, aren't just available to those capital greenfield projects. They're now very suitable and accessible for those legacy brownfield sites. And I always say, if you look at the industrial assets out there, Gartner will tell you that most of them, over 80% of them, are brownfield sites, right? And quite truthfully, over 80% of those brownfield sites haven't been able to keep up with their as-builts, haven't been able to keep up with their 3D models. And again, the important thing of having a reality model is confirming your existing conditions to support your maintenance planning, shutdowns, turnarounds, and designs types of things. So very applicable to the brownfield assets out there, and we really focus on that. So you saw some of the quantitative and qualitative value in having a digital twin. You're going to see how VEERUM can do this very quickly. Rob, I'll throw it over to you to introduce yourself and talk about what's happening out there in the marketplace, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Trevor, and some really exciting statistics there that you went over. So thank you for that. Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here today. My name is Rob Southon, and I am Chief Technology Officer at VEERUM. With that, I bring over 20 years of experience building enterprise-grade SaaS applications for Fortune 500 and Tier 1 energy companies. So with that technical background, I wanted to go over some of the current trends in digital adoption that are making all of this possible today, that are unlocking those KPIs that our clients are seeing. So a few of those trends that we're seeing, if you just go to the next slide, is affordable data capture. So if you go back 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, the data capture industry was maturing, but it wasn't yet at that point in time where it was super affordable and super easy to scan a site to give you that current conditions of site. But now that has changed. You can be a non-subject matter expert. You can have handheld and wearable scanning equipment, get onto site, capture an entire facility in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour or two for some of the larger facilities. And that creates that baseline to enable those outcomes that Trevor spoke about, and to enable this concept of visual work, so that the work that you're doing inside of the digital environment now gives you that visual context of the 3D representation of your site. And the other thing about kind of this advent of these scanning technologies is that they're now well suited to brownfield facilities, meaning that you can go, and if you do have 30, 40, 50, 100 different assets that are maybe geographically dispersed, it's not a problem to get out there and get those scanned in an affordable way. The other thing that we're seeing is with cloud first and cloud native technologies, you now have the ability to take all of the file formats that are out there, of which there are hundreds of different file formats that are going to represent all of your different site information, and all of the data capture file formats in terms of the size of them can now simply be streamed and processed through web and cloud technology, which then allows you to deliver that great rich 3D digital twin from the safety of your home or office and through those devices that Trevor talked about, your desktop, your tablet, your laptop, etc. It then makes it really easy to share it with anyone as well, because you don't need a specialized hardware system to be able to view the data. You just go into your Google Chrome browser, and then you view that data at scale securely. And then the other trend that we're seeing is data aggregation. One of the huge inefficiencies that we see in business is these silos of data that get created across different departments or across different tools. So really the solution to that is aggregating the data. And because there's so many different file formats that are out there, you'll see a number of the different asset information sources that we see in this industry. You kind of have your IoT, SCADA systems, any of your sensors. This could be location tracking devices as well. Any of your maintenance types of data that's out there from your work orders, maybe any of your historical data related to schedule costs. You've got your geospatial data that's going to span your satellite data capture, your GIS data, any of the documentation that you might have as well. Of course, this is probably sitting in a third-party content management system or document management systems. Any of your project planning that's going on, and this applies both greenfield and brownfield sites. So this could be shutdowns, turnaround project plannings. It could also be your data capture, the reality scan that we were talking about. And some of that data capture can be kind of high-tech laser scanning, drone, but can also be low-tech as well. It could just be simply 2D photos or 360 panoramic photos. So being able to aggregate all of that data and really break down the silos between the departments that are capturing that and maintaining those data sets to bring them into one view is a really key trend that we're seeing. And that really fits well in terms of the next key trend. So now you've aggregated all your data. You've got this great data capture of sites. You've got a 3D representation of site. But now how do you bring that together with your other data sets? And that's where this concept of data contextualization comes in. This is the concept of being able to take all those different siloed data sets and not just aggregate them, but give them context back to the 3D visual of your site or the 2D visual of your site as well. There's a couple of key aspects of this concept of data contextualization. So right down the middle here, I think that the key one here is you get that immediate visual understanding of site. And if you heard what Trevor was saying when he spent 50% of his time either traveling to site as a maintenance planner, I think you'll quickly understand the value that you get where you no longer need to spend that time. You can spend that time actually doing your remote maintenance planning tasks and activities instead of traveling to site. So that immediate visual understanding of site is really the key underpinning and value driver for this data contextualization. And then kind of surrounding that, you'll look at some of the key drivers and also kind of capabilities related to data contextualization. So being able to see the real-time location and sensor data, being able to bring in any of that reality capture, but see it in the context of your other business information systems. Being able to have immersive experiences such as virtual reality experiences with this data is key. On the left-hand side, being able to automatically connect to any of those third-party systems that you have probably make great investments into today, such as, let's say, your work order management systems, such as your IBM Maximos or your SAPs, but being able to bring those into the 3D context of site. And then bringing in all of that rich metadata that you have across all of your different systems, but being able to search across all of that from one web-based interface within the context of what else is going on at site. It's going to help you really be efficient, and it's going to help you avoid problems in the field. And then the next really cool trend that everyone's aware of, it's been at, I would say, the forefront of a lot of technology conversations for many years now. But I think the cool thing that we're seeing is this concept of visual machine learning no longer requires years of effort to implement. And, I was just talking with one of our data scientists actually right before this particular presentation. And the really cool thing is companies like VEERUM can now really take that visual machine learning capabilities and to deliver it to our clients with certainty, meaning it's no longer a 1 year or 2 year project to potentially maybe have some sort of outcome come out of your visual machine learning. Now going into your machine learning projects that you can get outcomes from these with certainty. And then in terms of how that visual machine learning can help you, there's really a number of different use cases and value drivers for the machine learning. Trevor talked about the value of inspections and being able to automate some of those identifications of inspection issues. That's a really great use case for visual machine learning, or identifying safety issues as well. You'll see even in this screen grab here in the middle, you'll see where there's a safety issue, I believe it was a trip or fall potential highlighted by a machine learning algorithm. So you can teach the system how to understand what's in the field, whether that be physical components to be able to then identify potential emissions issues in the field, or maybe business concepts like safety, trips, falls. Also, it allows you to really deliver these brownfield digital twins at scale. One of the challenges, of course, with brownfield sites is you probably don't have 3D CAD models for a lot of these sites. So then how do you connect all your business information systems right down to the equipment or the tag level? Well, ML can help you do that. And all of this really comes together to that final end goal of enabling the visual remote work solution for your teams. And then if we look at the overall kind of history of digital adoption and of data, another kind of last final trend here that we're seeing is that over 90% of the world's total data has been generated in just the past 2 years. And if you think about that, we really went from this era of data scarcity, not having enough data to come to the business outcomes, to really being data centric, meaning we are focused on data as an organization. And we started to create and collect enough data, but it was still siloed. It still had a lot of problems. And now we've really entered this era of really data abundance, meaning that you almost have too much data. And if you don't make data a focal point, if you don't really focus on some of these key aspects that are listed here in terms of making sure your data is available, accessible, complete, organized, accurate, secure, and ready to be analyzed, then you're not going to get value out of the data. You're going to be really inundated with data, and you're not going to be able to make sense of that data. And this is where we see a visual digital twin to be really key to that solution. And maybe Trevor will speak more about why the visual aspect is so key to solve this data abundance problem.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. And when you say data abundance, I think of it as a data tsunami. There is so much information coming at our personas out there now. You definitely want to have a tool or a visual tool that will be able to harness the power of that information coming at us. And why do we focus on the visual side of things? Again, that's the way we're wired. 90% of the information transmitted to us as humans is via the brain, and it's done visually. Visuals are processed 60,000 times faster than text, right? And the retention is much more than contextualized or reading through text. So visuals the way to go. We're going to get Rob to dive in and do a demo for us. And as he's doing that, think about the personas in those brownfield or in those industrial assets. How could they use this to visually, do their work safer and more productive?
Yeah, thank you so much, Trevor. I'm going to hop over to do that live demo right now. So you've been instantly transported to a 3D representation of a site. So from here, what you can do is you can start to be able to view this particular site in very high detail and in 3D, meaning you can remotely visit the site from the safety of simply your desktop, your browser, and in this case, simply just Google Chrome. You load up Chrome and you log in and you have this remote access to site. Now, for many of you, you're going to have a number of different sites, and that's no problem. There's lots of ways of simply hopping from site to site. But if you want to start to get additional value from this particular site, there's some really easy user interfaces to be able to view other data sets that are relevant to you to really democratize access to those data sets. So one of them is simply going over and turning on different reality scans or different design models. In this case, a 3D CAD model, if you happen to have one of site. Or in the case that you don't, and you want to start going in and accessing some of those business information systems, you have the ability of simply going in and searching them. So in this case, I have the ability of going in and saying, hey, do I have any equipment here at site that has some work orders attached to it? Immediately, I'm returned these 6 particular pieces of equipment where each of the tag names are represented here. And then for each of those, I immediately see any of that operations and maintenance information attached to each piece of equipment in the field in the context that contextualized 3D data. I also have the ability for each of those on the left-hand side search results, simply clicking on them, and it doesn't matter where they are in my facility. This could be behind a wall, in a pump house, in a room. It could be 1,000 kilometers away. I'm zoomed directly to that particular location for this particular piece of equipment or work order that I'm looking to execute. And for this particular tag, I can click on it. I can immediately see any related information in terms of the real-time pressure, temperature, flow, or any of those IoT sensors that I have hooked up to and connected to this particular piece of equipment. But then also on the left-hand side, I've immediately now had access to all those different business information systems that I would traditionally have to go into, those 7 to 10 different systems. I would have to understand those different business information systems. I'd have to understand how to use those different user experiences and user interfaces to find the information that is related to this particular piece of equipment. And instead, I can just go in and immediately see the specifications that might be in my third-party content management systems, any of those work order metadata contextualized here. So I can immediately see this is a compressor. I can see the functional location. I can have links back to make and model documentation. I can immediately access any of the work orders. I can see the related work order information in terms of due dates, the planner groups that are supposed to be working on these. From a simultaneous operations perspective, I can see other work that is going on at site. I can look at the dates of that work that's going on, and I can have links back to a given work order system in the case that I want to update any data in that work order system as well. So I get that complete view of all of the different data sets aggregated, contextualized in one click in the context not only of site, but also in the context of everything else that is going on at site, which is very powerful. And this is where we're seeing tremendous gains in terms of being able to deliver specific use cases for specific personas, such as Trevor's persona of that remote maintenance worker and planning.
And Rob, just to build on that, as a maintenance planner type of thing, I've got all the interrogation tools I need on the left-hand side to take measurements or do logistics planning. Is my crane going to fit in here? How much scaffolding do I need? And by the way, I can share this with any of my subcontractors for bidding purposes or for workforce planning, or my reliability engineers that might be centralized in a spot and not accessible to me at site. So very cool for that. And yeah, you're going to show the high definition tools as well. So really facilitates having the option of doing your work remotely.
Absolutely. And getting it into, another high value persona use case here is getting into this high resolution imagery where you're getting into inspection types of use cases where you can see this data in very high resolution. You'll also notice any of that aggregate information can also be delivered in these other visuals. So in this case, we're actually in a 360 panoramic view, but I still have the ability to get in here and see any of that aggregate information from any of my business information systems, but in the context of this high resolution panoramic imagery. And I also have the ability to navigate through site and really zoom in and view the different details at site, whether that's reading a nameplate or a tag in the field, but from that safety of your home or office. So that's really important. And just kind of building on that thread of various personas that are seeing tremendous value from this, I'm going to hop over quickly to another site here. And this is a site where actually an inspection has taken place. You'll see for this particular site, all of the green markers on the screen here are showing you where high resolution imagery, in this case, photogrammetry. So a drone, which is, again, one of those trends that we've seen, data capture now, of course, being easier and cheaper, has actually been flown and navigated around the particular target for inspection. So each one of these is a high resolution image that can actually be clicked on and viewed. So you can then see that particular image in super high resolution and detail. You can zoom right in and you can do all of your inspection work here directly in the context of that 3D model. You can also use machine learning technologies and capabilities to be able to do things like pick out and identify things at site where there have been issues identified. So in this case, there were 3 things, 2 open ports and some damaged equipment. For each of those that can be clicked on and then viewed, so I can see exactly where there was perhaps some damaged equipment, and then I can go into any of the related imagery that is close by to that particular damaged equipment to see in high resolution where the damage was or where that open port was as well. So a number of built-in workflows that are specific to personas, but in the context of that 3D digital twin.
The other important thing, Rob, as we're showing these point clouds out there, they're verifying the existing conditions prior to do any engineering work. It's very simple to do in VEERUM. You basically have your engineering company clip out a portion of the point cloud, they import it into their design software, they do their business, and they can export it back into the reality model here to do comparisons. So very high value to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going to hop over to just one more use case here. We talked about kind of the scale that this is possible on as well, and some of those baseline kind of capabilities and kind of feature sets of rich digital twins. And you'll see in this case, a much larger site captured by UAV here, and the ability to bring in other types of documents, whether that be 3D or 3D design files in this case, or 2D files that might be locked away in systems like content management systems or maybe engineering systems. So being able to bring in any of those other data or documents, that's going to give you value for even additional use cases, such as safety planning, such as being able to do training for new employees or site training before they arrive at site. You can see where are your hazardous stores or your various areas of interest from a training perspective. So the number of use cases here and value is absolutely endless. Going to wrap up the live demo now and pass it back to Jordan.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that presentation, Rob and Trevor there. So we've now entered the Q&A portion of the presentation here. So if you've heard anything that you'd like to hear more about here, we have a couple questions rolling in now. So I'll just start from the top. So someone here asks, how long does implementation take and how does this compare to other digital twin solution providers? Trevor, do you want to take on that one?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate the question there. Our claim to fame is if you have asset data and you give it to us within 24 to 48 hours, we're visually showing it back to you. So very quick onboarding process, very quick adoption process as well. And we just evolve that visual twin as your business needs increase type of thing. So for example, getting the visual digital twin up and running, very quick. If you want to integrate your computerized maintenance management system, your real-time operating parameters like OSI Pi and those types of things, that's done literally in a couple of weeks. So very, very quick time to value. In fact, our clients are telling us that they get a double-digit return on investment within 3 to 4 months. And the beautiful thing about this, as Rob showed, it's scalable. We have some of the largest assets in the world in our VEERUM portal, as well as we have singular wellheads or well sites and stuff. So it's very scalable for the size of your assets or your projects.
Great, thanks for that, Trevor. Another attendee here asks, we have recently invested in Maximo EAM for our global asset management. Does VEERUM replace Maximo or complement Maximo? It's a great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. So VEERUM absolutely complements Maximo. It does not replace Maximo at all. And in fact, in the quick demo that I gave today, where you saw the work orders that have that visual context, those would have come in from, generally it's going to be from Maximo or SAP, and it gives you the visual context of all of your work orders or any of the concepts inside of any of our integrated applications. And VEERUM does have an out-of-the-box connector with Maximo to get up and running very, very quickly. And it is very tightly integrated with Maximo as well, meaning that you can have one click to go from VEERUM into Maximo, and vice versa is also true. So if you're working on a specific work order or a specific piece of equipment, you can click on that particular piece of equipment in either system and be brought back to the related information directly in the other system as well. So you don't need to go finding the information in either system. They're very tightly coupled using deep links on the technology side.
Great. Yeah, very insightful there as well. Yeah, it's great how VEERUM can really integrate with all sorts of data inputs. Data agnostic is our favorite word on the marketing side. Another question here: what if my CAD data is either missing or not accurate? Generally, our data is not that great. What do we need to get ready to make your solution work for our team?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead.
Trevor, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Once again, what we're finding as another trend in the industry is asset owners really focusing on reality and not waiting until they have all of their design information up to date, all of their as-builts, or even all of their data systems type of thing. They really just, let's get what you have, get it visualized, and come up with a plan, how you would like to augment it in the future. But one of the biggest trends out there is to really focus on the existing conditions, the current conditions of your assets, focusing on reality. And we have some asset owners that they've abandoned trying to keep up with their digital as-builts or their CAD models. They just focus on the reality model, the current conditions.
And I'll just elaborate on that one because I think it's an excellent question. Going back to one of the trends that we're seeing, and one of the areas that VEERUM is heavily invested on the technology side, goes back to machine learning. And machine learning can really help you understand the current site conditions, right down to identifying, your equipment, for example, in the field, using 3D object detection, classification capabilities, so that you don't need to create CAD models anymore. So they're kind of becoming a thing of the past. Is definitely one of the trends that we're seeing.
The other thing, Rob, is, since that current conditions and what you have in the field at your asset, you're able to do quality assurance audits back to your systems of records, right? So we find a lot of people have a reality model now of their asset, and they find out X percentage or X hundreds of pieces of equipment they didn't have in their risk-based inspection program or in their computerized maintenance management system. So another big positive for dealing in reality.
Awesome. Another question here from Justin. This is great. What about downstream integration so that data can be automated to our applications like SAP, CMMS, and Jira?
Yeah, again, I mean, VEERUM is an open ecosystem, meaning that we can really connect to any third-party system that you have. Any of those ones that you just mentioned can be connected into VEERUM. From a technology side, VEERUM relies primarily on APIs to be able to connect and automate those integrations. And we have a number of the out of the box integrations with most of those tools and many more as well. So those connectors allow us to be able to bring in the information, in an automated fashion and sync it up. just to speak to some of the scale and technical capabilities of VEERUM specifically, at just one large industrial site, it would be very common for VEERUM to integrate millions of data pieces across many systems, 10 plus systems on a continual basis. So you're going to be spanning hundreds of thousands of pieces of equipment. You're going to be spanning live IoT data coming in at the same time, where you've got millions of different data pieces that are coming from all those different systems. So there's really no limits to the scalability side in terms of that data aggregation pieces from all those different systems.
And Rob, when you're talking there, don't worry about the profile of your asset. A data-centric visual twin can be down to a wellhead, to a linear pipeline, or it can, it can be very suitable for a heavy industrial process like a brownfield refinery, or even older facilities, if you call them grayfield type of thing. It's very applicable to any type of industrial asset itself.
Awesome. I think this is a good follow-up to that question as well, around data security. So who owns the data once it's in your system, and what do you have for security/data privacy certifications?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. As soon as you start bringing the power of data aggregation and contextualization, this question comes to the forefront always, as it should. So the data ownership always sits with the asset owners. VEERUM never owns any of the data that comes into the VEERUM platform or ecosystem. So it's always the asset owner continues to maintain ownership of that data. In terms of security, data privacy certifications, VEERUM specifically has our ISO 27001, which is a cybersecurity certification. We have our AWS FTR, which is the foundational technical review, which is that stamp of approval from AWS. And then also from a compliance perspective, we also have our SOC 2 Type 2, which is ensuring that data stays secure and private, and that we're following all of those compliance procedures that are required to keep your data safe.
Awesome. Great. Time for maybe 2 more questions here. If you do have any questions, please throw them in the Q&A, and we'll try to answer them in the last couple minutes here. I guess one question here is how much heavy lifting is required by the client to set up? So how much onus is on the client versus how much does VEERUM really take that on?
Yeah, I'll speak to that, Rob, because that's close to my heart. One of the other advantages of VEERUM is our onboarding solutions team are made up of geospatial experts. So we do basically a white glove service. We do all the heavy lifting. We work with our clients to identify where their data is, which integrations they'd like to do, and then our team facilitates all of that. We want to make it as easy as possible to onboard so that we get to the persona-based adoption of our subscription and our solution.
Awesome. And then I guess a final question here, and then I'll pass it over to you, Trevor, for any kind of closing remarks. But we talked a little bit about Maximo integration and other integrations. What are some of the use cases that are being enriched by some of the clients that we're working with today? What are some of the typical integrations that they're using to get high ROI?
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak to some of these, and I'm sure Trevor can add on as well. So I think there's a couple of categories, I would say, of systems rather than specific systems. I think obviously ERP systems, any systems where you do have work order management going on. I think IoT sensor information is important and is super relevant and aggregated. And then obviously anything on the content management system, document management systems. Everybody knows how kind of like clunky and hard it is to find information in those systems. So being able to go into into VEERUM, be able to click on a specific piece of equipment and immediately see all the related information across all those business information systems is the primary use case. And it really doesn't matter who your persona is. You really want to understand what is all the connected information at a tag level or equipment level, so that I have a full picture and full understanding of everything related to that particular piece of equipment. So I think ultimately that's kind of the core use case. And then in terms of why that's helping our clients achieve those outcomes, that's where a lot of the efficiency gains come from. Because what we found is, for example, for like a maintenance planning type of use case, a number of the users before using VEERUM would have to go to 7 to 10 different systems. It would take them between, a half day or a day just to even find the information that they needed across all those different systems. And now what they do is they go into VEERUM, and in one click or in one search, they have access to all those different systems within seconds, as opposed to, a day.
Awesome. And yeah, one question snuck in here at the end here, and just around limits of number of users or data in the system. Are there any limits within VEERUM in the subscription?
The way our subscription is set up, we are basically, it's an annual subscription, unlimited data and unlimited users, because once again, our model is based on, getting this in the hands of as many people as possible, so that our clients get the highest ROI, and we learn those use cases, and we use our clients, we listen to them to improve our solution features and functions as well. So that's our model.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Trevor and Rob. Trevor, I'll pass it off to you for any kind of closing remarks. And thanks for a great session today, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate this energy now, and I appreciate the audience here. Thanks for being on this journey with us. I'm hoping that in a future time, we're going to dive deeper into the persona based and the use cases, and how working visually really impacts those people's daily lives in a positive way. But my challenge to you guys out here is, enable your workforces and really think about what Rob talked about with that data aggregation and that visual contextualization. It will deliver incredible return on investment for your people. And like Jordan said before, like we talked about, this is the way the new workforce is expecting to work. So let's give them the tools.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Trevor. And as Trevor alluded to, this is the first of 2 webinars that we are doing with Energy Now. So look in your inboxes that you used to sign up for this webinar. There will be an invite for a webinar later this month that will be diving into those specific persona use cases and going into some real client use cases that we're really excited to share. So bring your colleagues along, share the message, and this webinar will be recorded. So if you know somebody in the office that wasn't able to join today, please share that recording with them, and it'll be on Energy Now's website and YouTube page. So we're really looking forward to keeping in touch with everyone. Thank you very much. I'll give Rob the last word here.
Thanks so much, Jordan. It was very excited, for me to be able to present to everyone today and do a live demo of the application. One of our taglines is you have to V it or see it to believe it. So I encourage everybody, don't put in your mind that there's certain blockers to getting this value that you're seeing today. It's something you can get started with today. We've proven it time and time again, and excited to see who else we can help going forward.